The moment you begin begging for attention, you quietly surrender your power. You reveal that your emotional state depends on someone else's reaction, someone else's approval, or someone else's willingness to notice you. And once people understand that you need their attention more than they need yours, the balance changes. You become predictable. You become easy to control. Your mood rises when they respond and falls when they remain silent. You begin checking for messages, watching for reactions, changing your behavior, and performing a version of yourself designed only to receive approval. Without realizing it, you are no longer living according to your own direction. You are reacting to the attention, or lack of attention, coming from someone else. But powerful people understand a different principle. Attention is most valuable when you do not desperately pursue it. This does not mean becoming arrogant, rude, or emotionally cold. It means refusing to make another person's attention the foundation of your identity. You can appreciate attention without depending on it. You can enjoy recognition without needing it to feel valuable. The difference is enormous. A person who needs attention becomes a servant to the people who provide it. A person who can stand confidently without attention becomes much harder to manipulate. Think about the people who naturally attract interest. They are often not the loudest people in the room. They do not constantly interrupt conversations or demand to be noticed. They are not desperately trying to prove how important they are. Instead, they appear focused. They have their own interests, their own goals, their own standards, and their own world. Their attention is not freely given to everyone. Because of this, when they do speak, people listen. When they do show interest, it feels meaningful. When they are present, their presence has weight. This is the psychology of scarcity. What is constantly available is often taken for granted. What is rare becomes valuable. If you are always sending the first message, always starting the conversation, always trying to repair every distance, and always asking why someone has changed, you teach people that your attention is unlimited. They begin to assume that you will always be there, regardless of how little effort they make. But when you stop forcing connections and begin allowing people to reveal their true level of interest, you gain clarity. You do not need to announce your withdrawal. You do not need to make dramatic statements about ignoring people. You do not need to post indirect messages designed to make someone wonder where you are. That is still a form of begging for attention. Real detachment is quieter. You simply return your focus to your own life. You work on your goals. You develop your abilities. You spend time with people who genuinely value your presence. You become so engaged with your own direction that you no longer have the energy to chase people who are uncertain about you. The strongest form of attention is self-directed attention. Ask yourself where your energy is going. Are you spending hours thinking about someone who gives you minutes? Are you constantly analyzing the behavior of someone who barely considers your feelings? Are you trying to convince someone of your value when your own actions already prove it? This is where many people lose their power. They spend their best energy trying to be seen by someone who has already chosen not to look. Your goal should not be to make everyone notice you. That is impossible, and pursuing it will make you dependent on the opinions of strangers and indifferent people. Your goal should be to become deeply committed to something meaningful. Build a life that does not collapse when someone stops responding. Develop a mind that does not need constant reassurance. Create standards that prevent you from chasing people who repeatedly make you feel unwanted. When you stop begging for attention, something changes within you. You become calmer. Your decisions become clearer. You no longer react to every delay, every silence, or every change in someone's behavior. You begin to observe instead of panic. You begin to ask, What does this person's behavior reveal? Rather than, how can I make them give me attention again? That shift transforms you from a desperate participant into a careful observer of human behavior. People may not always notice you immediately, but they often notice when you stop chasing them. They begin to wonder what changed. They may become curious about your silence. They may start questioning why you are no longer available in the same way. But the important thing is that this should never be your primary goal. If you withdraw only to make someone chase you, you are still controlled by their attention. The real victory is reaching the point where their reaction no longer determines your peace. Attention should be a result, not a request. Let people notice your discipline, your confidence, your progress, and your independence. Do not constantly tell the world who you are. Give your actions enough time to speak. The person who is always trying to prove their value often appears uncertain, while the person who quietly develops value rarely needs to explain it. When your life becomes meaningful to you, you stop begging others to make it meaningful through their attention. Mystery is not about playing games with people or deliberately confusing them. It is about understanding that you do not owe everyone complete access to your thoughts, emotions, plans, and personal life. In a world where people reveal everything instantly, the ability to maintain a certain level of privacy has become powerful. When you tell everyone everything, there is nothing left for curiosity to discover. But when you allow parts of yourself to remain private, people begin to wonder. They observe. They become curious. They want to understand what exists beneath the surface. Many people destroy their own mystery without realizing it. They explain every decision, reveal every emotion, share every plan, and constantly announce what they are doing. They tell people where they are going, what they are thinking, what they are feeling, and what they intend to do next. In the beginning, this may feel like openness, but complete openness can sometimes make you predictable. Once people know exactly how you will react, what you will say, and what you will do, they no longer need to pay close attention. You have given them the entire map of your mind. Mysterious people do not necessarily speak less because they are afraid. They speak with intention. They understand that every word reveals something. They do not rush to fill every silence. They do not feel pressured to explain themselves to everyone. When asked about their plans, they may answer simply. When questioned about their personal life, they may share what is appropriate without revealing everything. This creates a boundary between what the world can see and what remains private. The power of mystery comes from controlled access. Think of your personality as a book. If you hand someone the entire book on the first meeting, there is no reason for them to turn the pages slowly. But if they discover your character gradually, through your actions, decisions, and conversations, their interest develops over time. This does not mean hiding your true identity, or pretending to be someone you are not. It means allowing people to earn deeper access to you instead of giving it away immediately to everyone. There is also a psychological reason people are drawn to mystery. The human mind dislikes incomplete information. When something is unclear, the mind naturally tries to complete the picture. If someone reveals everything about themselves, there is little left to imagine. But when a person maintains some privacy, others begin forming questions. What are they really thinking? What are they working toward? Why are they so calm? What experiences shaped them? Curiosity creates attention, and attention creates interest. However, there is a difference between mystery and deception. A deceptive person creates false images to manipulate others. A mysterious person simply refuses to expose every part of their life. One is built on lies, the other is built on boundaries. You do not need to create fake stories, pretend to be unavailable, or invent a dramatic personality. You can be completely authentic while still maintaining privacy. Do not announce every goal before you have achieved it. Sometimes, speaking too early about your plans creates the illusion of progress without the actual work. You receive praise for an intention, and that praise can reduce your motivation to complete the task. Quiet action protects your focus. Work privately, improve privately. Let the result create the conversation. You should also be careful with emotional exposure. This does not mean suppressing your feelings or refusing to trust anyone. It means understanding that trust should develop gradually. Not everyone deserves access to your deepest fears, insecurities, dreams, and personal experiences. When you reveal your most private emotions to people who have not earned your trust, you may later regret giving them information they were never prepared to respect. Mystery also means allowing people to experience different sides of you naturally. You do not need to explain your entire personality in one conversation. Let people discover that you can be serious and playful, quiet and confident, thoughtful and decisive. A person who cannot be easily categorized remains interesting because others cannot reduce them to a single simple definition. The most powerful form of mystery is not silence alone. It is depth. A shallow person can remain silent and still be easily understood, but a person who is constantly learning, developing, observing, and growing becomes difficult to completely define. Their thoughts evolve. Their interests expand. Their abilities increase. Every time people think they understand them, they discover another layer. So stop feeling the need to reveal everything immediately. You do not need to prove your intentions before your actions have spoken. You do not need to explain every silence. You do not need to make your entire life available for public examination. Keep some thoughts for yourself. Keep some plans private. Let your actions unfold before your words announce them. When you stop trying to be completely understood by everyone, you become more independent, more difficult to manipulate, and far more intriguing to those who are genuinely paying attention. There is a moment in every interaction when people begin to test your emotional control. Sometimes the test is intentional, and sometimes it happens naturally. Someone says something provocative. Someone ignores your message. Someone changes their behavior toward you. Someone tries to make you jealous, impatient, angry, or desperate for an explanation. In these moments, most people react automatically. They respond immediately, defend themselves, demand answers, or attempt to prove that they are not affected. But the moment you react without thinking, you hand control of your emotions to someone else. Emotional control does not mean that you feel nothing. It means that you refuse to allow every feeling to control your behavior. Anger may appear, but you do not have to act from anger. Disappointment may appear, but you do not have to beg for reassurance. Confusion may appear, but you do not have to demand an immediate explanation. The feeling is real, but the reaction is a choice. This distinction separates people who are controlled by circumstances from people who control themselves. Silence can become powerful when it comes from self-control rather than fear. Many people speak because they are uncomfortable with silence. They explain too much because they are afraid of being misunderstood. They respond instantly because they are afraid that if they wait, they will lose someone's attention. They argue because they cannot tolerate the idea that another person may have the final word. But the need to respond to everything creates a weakness that observant people can easily recognize. When you are always available for an argument, people learn how to provoke you. When they know exactly which words will make you angry, they possess a kind of power over you. They do not need to defeat your ideas. They only need to press the right emotional button. This is why self-control is not simply a personality trait. It is a form of protection. The less predictable your emotional reactions become, the more difficult you are to manipulate. Imagine someone sends you a message designed to make you feel insecure. Your first instinct may be to answer immediately and defend yourself. But what happens when you pause? You create distance between the event and your response. In that distance, your intelligence returns. You can ask yourself, what is actually happening here? Is this person seeking a genuine conversation, or are they trying to provoke a reaction? Does this situation deserve my energy? What response protects my dignity instead of simply expressing my emotion? Sometimes the strongest response is a calm answer. Sometimes it is a brief answer. Sometimes it is no answer at all. The important thing is that your response should be chosen, not forced out of you. Silence should not be used as a childish punishment or a way to manipulate someone. It should be the natural result of understanding that not every situation deserves your participation. People often believe that explaining themselves will make others respect them, but excessive explanation can have the opposite effect. When you constantly defend every decision, justify every action, and prove every intention, you communicate that you are desperate to be approved. A confident person can clarify when necessary, but they do not turn every misunderstanding into a courtroom where they must prove their innocence. The same principle applies to rejection and distance. When someone becomes distant, many people immediately chase answers. They ask what happened, what they did wrong, and how they can fix everything. Sometimes honest communication is valuable, but there is a point where repeated questioning becomes a form of emotional dependence. If someone's behavior consistently communicates disinterest, your responsibility is not to force them to explain themselves endlessly. Their behavior may already be the answer. This is where observation becomes more powerful than reaction. Instead of asking how you can change someone's behavior, observe what their behavior reveals about them. Instead of immediately responding to disrespect, ask whether the person has earned another conversation. Instead of trying to convince someone that you deserve respect, consider whether continuing the interaction is wise. The calm person has an advantage because they can see more clearly. When others are rushing to speak, they can listen. When others are revealing their emotions, they can observe. When others are making decisions based on anger, they can wait. Time often exposes what emotion tries to hide. A person who reacts immediately may later regret their words, but a person who pauses has the opportunity to choose a response that serves their long-term interests. Do not confuse emotional control with weakness. A person who remains calm is not necessarily powerless. In many situations, calmness is evidence of strength. Anyone can shout when angry. Anyone can send an impulsive message. Anyone can attack when they feel threatened. The greater challenge is to remain composed when you have every reason to react emotionally. Your silence should come from confidence, not fear. Your patience should come from awareness, not helplessness. Your restraint should come from choice, not weakness. When you develop this level of control, people can no longer easily direct your behavior through provocation. They may still attempt to upset you, but they can no longer guarantee the reaction they want. And the moment you stop allowing others to control your emotional responses, you begin to reclaim a level of power that no amount of attention or approval can give you. The greatest mistake people make when seeking attention is focusing on being noticed instead of becoming valuable. They ask themselves how they can make someone think about them, how they can become more attractive, how they can make others chase them, or how they can create an image that receives constant admiration. But attention without value is temporary. It may arrive quickly, but it disappears just as quickly. The person who depends entirely on attention must constantly perform to keep it. The person who develops real value does not need to perform constantly because their abilities, character, and presence speak for themselves. There is a major difference between demanding attention and creating a reason for people to give it. When someone repeatedly says, "Look at me," people may look for a moment, but they are not necessarily impressed. Attention can be forced, but respect cannot. Respect is created through consistency, competence, self-control, and the ability to offer something meaningful. This is why the most powerful transformation begins when you stop asking, "How can I make people notice me?" and start asking, "What can I develop that makes my presence meaningful?" Value can take many forms. It can be knowledge, skill, creativity, reliability, wisdom, discipline, or the ability to solve problems that others cannot solve. A valuable person does not necessarily need to be the loudest person in the room. In fact, some of the most respected people are not constantly trying to dominate attention. They have spent years developing something beneath the surface. Their confidence comes from preparation. Their calmness comes from experience. Their influence comes from the fact that they have something real to offer. This principle applies to every area of life. If you want people to respect your ideas, develop knowledge. If you want people to trust your judgment, develop experience. If you want people to value your presence, become someone who brings clarity, stability, creativity, or strength into the lives of others. The goal is not to make yourself useful so that people can exploit you. There is a difference between value and constant availability. Value means possessing qualities that matter. It does not mean sacrificing your boundaries to become useful to everyone. One of the reasons people chase attention is that they want immediate proof of their importance. They want likes, messages, compliments, invitations, and recognition. But meaningful development rarely provides immediate rewards. You may work for months without anyone noticing. You may study while others are entertaining themselves. You may practice a skill while no one applauds. You may improve your character in complete privacy. This is the difficult stage where many people give up because they are not receiving attention for their effort. But the absence of attention does not mean the absence of progress. A seed does not become worthless simply because no one is watching it grow. Your development is not made less valuable because it is happening privately. In fact, private growth often creates the strongest foundation because it is not dependent on applause. You continue because the work matters to you, not because someone is constantly rewarding you with approval. When you become focused on building real value, your relationship with attention changes. You no longer need to force conversations. You no longer need to announce every achievement. You no longer need to constantly remind people of your importance. Your work, your results, and your character begin creating their own form of recognition. People may become curious about how you developed. They may notice your confidence. They may observe that you are different from the person you once were. The key is consistency. One impressive moment does not create lasting value. Anyone can appear intelligent once. Anyone can show confidence for a day. Anyone can make a powerful promise. But people begin to respect what they see repeatedly. Consistency reveals character. If you say you are disciplined, your habits must eventually prove it. If you claim to be focused, your choices must demonstrate it. If you want to be seen as strong, you must learn to remain steady when circumstances become difficult. This is also why you should avoid comparing your progress to the attention other people receive. Someone else may be more popular, more visible, or more frequently praised, but visibility is not the same as value. Some people receive enormous attention for very little substance, while others quietly build abilities that become powerful over time. The surface can be misleading. Never assume that the person receiving the most attention is the person with the greatest strength. Your task is to build a life that gives you a reason to respect yourself even when no one is watching. Learn something difficult. Improve a weakness. Develop a skill. Become more disciplined. Read deeply. Think independently. Keep promises to yourself. Build a character that does not collapse when external approval disappears. The more you develop internally, the less desperately you will need to be validated externally. Eventually, the question changes. You stop asking, "Why are they not paying attention to me?" and begin asking, "Am I becoming the kind of person whose attention, time, and presence have genuine value?" That question puts the power back in your hands. You cannot control who notices you, but you can control what you become. You cannot force everyone to admire you, but you can develop qualities that deserve respect. You cannot make everyone stay, but you can build a life so meaningful that you no longer feel empty when someone leaves. When you stop chasing attention and begin building value, attention may come naturally, but more importantly, you become strong enough not to depend on it.